Streaming across the counties of Essequibo, Demerara, and Berbice, this is Kaicho Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. Kaicho Radio, the radio with a difference.
It is 20 hours 8 in Guyana, and you're tuned into the radio with a difference. That is a great choice, and it is none other than 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM. Kaichu Radio, the radio with a difference. It is time for a quick update of Room 592 with Dr. Yog Mahadeo at the helm, joined by senior journalist of Kaichu News, Leonard Gildarie. Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening to you. Good evening to you, and good evening to you, Mr. Gildarie. How are you tonight?
Pretty good, pretty good. You telling me about my background? You like my background?
Yes, I like your background very much. You are looking quite warm and sunny there. That's quite well. And, welcome to all of our viewers and listeners from all across Guyana. Leonard, we had some calls today from Canada, and I've had a couple calls from the United States, the Caribbean, and so forth. So everybody joining in tonight, you can get us on Facebook, you can get us on YouTube, and of course, for our viewers all across the country, you get us on 99.1 FM and 99.5 FM band. So welcome to everyone for this brief election recount update. I feel like, those reruns, Leonard, you have some of these movies rewind. You always have an extra segment coming on. So now we're on recount update. So I know that tonight we're going to be joined by a number of persons, and Leonard, also Josh Kanai promises to come on to give us a little brief of his experience for the day. But viewers and listeners, as you know, we've had a number of feedback from many, many persons. We have seen Ganesh Mahipal, we have seen Frank Anthony, we saw a number of persons from all the various parties, including Lennox Schumann and all of them, making statements to the press about any number of things that happened today. But one of the stark things, Leonard, at the close of play, unfortunately, only 40 boxes have been completed after 2 days, my friend.
Is that 40 boxes? I thought it was 40 boxes today.
No, I think my numbers are telling me that it seems like it's 40 in total, which is an average of 20 per day. Let me recheck meanwhile you are taking that point on, sir.
Yes, thank you very much. And so, Yog, we would have seen this morning day 2 of the recount, starting with a bang. This morning there was a secret meeting that turned out not so secret, according to GCOM. And let me start with that if you're now joining us and you're not familiar with that. A few persons stumbled on some people in a room, and those people were talking to the GCOM's IT technicians. And when the people saw that is the coalition persons, they would have asked them what they're doing there, and it came out, the story that came out afterwards. Those two persons were Dr. Frank Anthony and Say Singh, and they were talking to the IT guy, and so the story that came out afterwards was that it was a secret meeting. GCOM's PRO, Yolanda Ward, said afterward the matter seemed to be blown out of proportion. However, in a very short while, we're going to have Mr. Daniel Siram, and the APNU AFC coalition candidate, and he would be telling us about what he saw this morning that would have seen that story coming out. That's one. And two, a little later, we're going to talk to Rhonda Lamb, TCI presidential candidate, who's also observing the proceedings there, the recount that is. And so she's going to tell us what she would have seen, and maybe the populace would make the decisions as to what really transpired today. Many narratives is coming out, but what do we have here so far? Yesterday, we would have had the number of boxes. I think it's 25.
25 yesterday and 40 today.
And 40 today, that's 40,
Yes.
65. At the projection, if we were using 25 days and we have 23 days now, and maybe could use your little math skills there. If we have 23 days, and if you have to, I think it will just be over 2,000, it would be 2,100 and something that we left. How much does
Yeah.
that translate to that we'd have to do per day, assuming that we work every day in order to reach that 25 days?
Well, if we continue the way we are going, you are looking at doing just about 812 in 25 days. And you have a total of 2,339 boxes to do. So to do the 2339 boxes, Leonard, 2339 divided by 25 means you have to do a minimum of 93 boxes per day. But if you did 25 yesterday and 40 today, that is certainly a step up, and you can hope that by day 3 they would go to probably an 80, and hopefully it would increase. Don't forget, some of the boxes have very, very small numbers.
But don't forget that today, too, a statement was made. I think I'm not sure it was Rhonda Lamb or what is it, Yolanda Ward. I think it was Yolanda Ward, the public relations officer of GCOM, who said that in a box of 47 ballots that were cast, it took 1 hour 45 minutes to process that box.
Correct.
So that gives you an idea what happens if you reach 300 plus, and we know that would have happened. And what you've seen coming out today now, it's been made very clear by all the persons who were gathered there, who are observing or participating in the actual count handling ballots, that they're saying it's a very tedious process.
Correct.
I think it's Dr. Mark DeFrance of ANOG, one of the candidates for ANOG, who's there. He's saying that you actually have to go to the container. When you take the box to identify the box, you actually have to examine it to make sure that it's not broken, all the seals are there, and so on. And then
Right.
it's carted up to the counting station that you would have had there. When it goes there, they take photographs, and then it's opened up in front of everybody that it's carried
Correct.
there. And then you go through it one by one. This for you, this for me, this for Yog, this for somebody else. And that process there, if it's 300 something, you can imagine how tedious. And then there's a mini audit, because there'd be documents there which they would have been verifying, like how much unused ballots, how much spoiled ballots, and everything. So you're going through the entire process in detail. It's not like just you counting and you throwing it there. You're actually examining the documents there and there. So that is very, very tedious, very time consuming. So in a very short while here, we have in our studio here our reporters of Kaichur News. There's Kimal King, Michaela Prince, and Shikima Day, and they're going to be bringing us a very quick update as to what would have transpired at the convention center today. So while we're waiting on them, Yog, it is day 2. And what you see, based on what we would have heard from everybody so far, the recounting process in itself seems to be going pretty good. However, there's some stuff being thrown up in the air there. Like number one, we see that very graphic a photograph of a death certificate, and one would have wondered how did somebody get a death certificate so pretty quickly, and they were able to bring it into the place. However, all is fair in love and war, and so I'm saying to you.
Yeah, but remember too that people need to remember that before the elections, Leonard, before the elections, there was the claims and objections period. So if this person died since whenever, God knows when, since a year ago before the elections, why didn't that same party agent pick up that there were these dead people or these people who would have migrated? And of course, as we spoke during today, how come they're getting these, or anybody? I'm not casting blame on any one party, but how come we're finding death certificates and all of that so quickly, my friend? I don't know. But there's so many questions. The good thing is, though, that yes, at the end of today, there is process. And one good spark came out today. That is, amidst all the conspiracy theories, that they were going to do the tabulation for the day, every day at the end of the day. And that did happen this afternoon, albeit in a small way, but it did happen. And I know that Kevin will be showing some of the screens behind the scene. But over to you again, Leonard, to take us with the reporters there.
Thank you very much. And so we have in our studio here Kimal King, Shikema Day, and Michaela Prince, our reporters who have been bringing you the news live from the convention center since it's all started. Kimal, good evening, and good evening, ladies.
Hi, Mr. Gildarie.
Hi.
And so it has been a very long day. I guess there's so many stories that are coming out there, from toilets to other stuff. So we're not going to discuss that. What transpired today? At the end of the day, what did we see?
At the end of the day, I would say the biggest issue that we have to look at is the pace of the recount, and what happened today says about the pace. They completed about 40 ballot boxes today, as opposed to 25 yesterday. But what the chair of a New United Guyana is saying about this is that it appears as though this 25-day duration that the chair has said the recount should take, it's definitely not going to take 25 days. It's going to take much, much longer than that.
He says, did he give a figure as to how much he would have projected based on the pace?
He did not give a figure, but I would say that my very rough calculations would take the recount over 2 months.
That's on the rough calculation. I think that's consistent, Yog, with what we would have calculated to. And so
URP 0. Number of valid votes 207.
Oh, yeah,
Okay.
You should probably mute that.
yes. So in the meantime, there, what else would have transpired today? There were many statements coming back and forth. I think this morning we woke up with a bang, hearing about a secret meeting. What happened there?
Well, an APNU AFC a party rep came outside speaking to the media, said that there was a secret meeting between, I think it was Mr. Sesnarain Singh and another agent with the IT agent at the tabulation center. But the GCOM PRO said that this was not so, because the tabulation center is a very public area with cameras around, so it was not possible to have a secret meeting being taken place there.
There was also a lot of statements coming out from many other party reps countering this story that there was a secret meeting
In the tabulation
of
center.
persons who would want to derail the process in some way. So what you have here, Mr. Gildarie, GCOM has a big job right now to counter what we see appearing to be a trend of misinformation that is starting to come out of the center.
There was a photograph of what I think I saw a statement, a pole somewhere up the highway, Yarrow Cabra or somewhere there. What's the story there?
Christopher Jones, a member of the governing coalition, posted this statement of recount alongside a figure that he says the PPP had put out. Remember, the PPP said that they have put out the tabulation that shows that they won the election.
Mm-hmm.
So what he's saying is that the results that the PPP put out showed a very small difference between the results for the APNU AFC and the PPP. But the statement of recount shows that the APNU AFC won by an extreme margin. Now, we know what the statement of recount says, but we cannot comment on the veracity of the figures that he gave in terms of the PPP's figures.
Correct. And also, Kimal, one of the things that I think has come out is the obvious disparity between what the different parties are going to say. And you are right. Leonard, they're both actually right by saying that GCOM now has its work cut out for it. To walk between all the conspiracy theories, to walk between all the hurdles, all the political accusations that are going to be flying left, right, and center every day, and to keep focus on the end game, which is to get this recount done and over with. Kimal, here is my question. In terms of this afternoon now, and the tabulation process, did either of the three of you get the sense that the stakeholders starting to feel a little bit more comfortable that the SORs are going to be displayed. We are showing it on screen presently. This is what happened at the end of today. But Kimal, over to you.
Well, we had a series of party agents coming out, people like Mr. Lennox Schumann, Timothy Jonas, and so on. And they had said that so far there was an issue whereby the process is not as transparent as they would like it to be. First of all, GCOM made some provisions in its order for certain streams that would ensure the public is kept aware, but the practicality of those streams, or rather the lack of practicality, is now being seen. The audio stream is quite useless because you're hearing a lot of murmuring and background noise, and it's not getting a lot of reach. GCOM had also said that what it would do is take some photos of the ballot box when it is taken out of the container and broadcast it so that the public can see that it was not tampered with. I asked Yolanda Ward about that this afternoon, and what she said is that they have been taking the photos, but that they don't know how they're going to broadcast it yet. And so about the statement of recount, it is good that GCOM has said that they're going to start tabulating the statements every afternoon from 5 to, was it 6:30? But I'm not sure how to answer your question about the publication of the statement of recount, Yog.
Right. Here is one of the questions I want to leave with the three of you. Remember, in the general elections, Kimal, the law required the polling stations to display the SOPs at the place of poll after the count. So using that same backdrop, wouldn't GCOM then be obliged to release or to post publicly, this is for the sake of the media, to see the SORs themselves rather than wait for the tabulation process? In other words, when a box is finished, were it to have been at the place of count, they would have posted that count out there. And the same needs to happen here. You can go and say it's not in the order, but you know what? It is the elections procedure, and the elections are not over.
Certainly, Yog. One of the concerns that the chairman of ANAG, Mr. Timothy Jonas, raised earlier this afternoon is that GCOM should continuously publish the statements of recount as to ensure transparency. He said it was something that he raised with the commission yesterday during that meeting, but he thought that they were going to utilize it. Today, it was not. However, we were also told that when they publish the SORs, they're supposed to compare it to the SOPs that are in possession of GCOM. That has not been done as yet. We will speak to the commissioners and get an update on that.
Ward had been asked about the publication of the statements of recount, and what she said was that the order didn't provide for it. But I can tell you that GCOM has made decisions this afternoon that are not necessarily in the order, but the decisions don't necessarily contravene what's in the order. So GCOM can certainly decide now to publish the statements of recount.
Correct. Well, Kimal, the fact is that GCOM has the law on its side to make any decision it wants. The fact that we have a recount shows that they can do it. I want to just quickly put your minds on something else. GCOM has allocated an hour and a half every day to have the statement of recounts displayed and tabulated. Now, today, we are still behind. I think they just did a couple of boxes as yet in terms of tabulation, even though 65 SORs ought to have been completed and tabulated. Would, as the pace pick up, would an hour and a half be adequate?
With my, again, cursory calculations, I would say that an hour and a half is definitely not adequate, not at the pace that they're going.
Mm-hmm. Mhm. Because the key thing here is transparency, right, Leonard? The key thing is as the SORs are produced, and this is what some of the commissioners were, some of the political parties were saying, the SOR must not disappear and go somewhere. The moment it is signed off by all the agents, it now becomes a document that must be displayed for the sake of transparency. And at that stage, Kimal or any one of our reporters, can you verify for me when all the agents present in a workstation, when they sign off on the SOR, are they immediately given a copy of that SOR?
I can't answer that.
Not sure.
Okay. Okay. So hopefully when one of the agents come online later, Leonard, we can ask them.
Well, absolutely, dear. And so there we would have had it. Just one other question. So the tabulation process, are they with the new ruling by GCOM? There's happiness about that from the various political parties,
There's a sense of comfort among them, yes.
and that's a sense of comfort. So I want to thank you very much, dear Kimal King, and Shikima Day and Michaela Prince, our reporters, hardworking reporters they are, who were in the ground the entire day, and they've been there from the beginning, bringing you live what is happening with the recount of 2020, March 2nd, 2020, that elections. Thank you very much,
Thank you.
ladies and gentlemen. So Yog, you would have heard there from them. 40 boxes today, 40 boxes today. I'm not sure whether that's enough.
Well, no, and Leonard, at this stage, I would want to say, but 40 today, but it's a definite uptick from where we were yesterday afternoon, day one. So I would want to say, let's give it tomorrow. Tomorrow, they should see everybody getting used to what has to be done. I want to be devil's advocate here and tell you that I think the next week or so will go at a rapid pace. It's when the parties start seeing the results taking a particular direction is when we may find a slowdown, as happened earlier in the declaration side of things. But that is just being a devil's advocate. Hopefully, we don't have to come to that this time.
Well, I I'm looking and I wanted to ask about today the reporters ran into some problems at yesterday we covered the story, the newspaper about the accommodations for the media, and so they were placed outside on the tent, no toilet or anything. So then today, I think GCOM PRO says you could go in and use the aquatic center facilities. We heard that some of the persons that went there that it didn't go so well for them. That's the reporters. They were actually, some of them were, the verbal abuse that is said that happened. I think afterwards, I think Christopher Jones came out and he did try to placate them and says, look, GCOM did not have an arrangement with us, and therefore I am allowing you to use the facilities there. I think some of the reporters went over the gift land. They did not want to go through that again. But at the end of the day, we would have to look back at our treatment of reporters in this country. We'd have to ask the GPA, the Guyana Press Association, what exactly has happened here, whether we could not have accommodated reporters or treated them in a better way. They are part of the entire process of transparency, Yog. And so
Correct.
we have to, as a country, as a people, as a government, as the opposition, start looking at these things very seriously, because when reporters, and we could accuse them of any and everything, and there's some bad eggs as well. I'd be the first one to say that. But at the end of the day, they're doing the job. They're hardworking people, the majority of them.
Yeah,
And-
absolutely.
And I would
Leonard,
back them any day.
Well, Leonard, forget anything about the way that things have been rolling out here. But what we have to realize is that this country, the world, not this country, the world is depending on the media to dispel the information of what transpires there. When the international observers have a report, it's the media that will carry it.
Absolutely. And I think we have Mr. Daniel Siram on the line.
Yes. Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening, sir. How are you doing? All right?
How you going now?
Thank you very much, dear. And
Daniel, how are you?
Good evening. Whom else am I online with?
You're with Dr. Yog Mahadeo and myself, Leonard Gildarie, Kaicho Radio 99.1, 99.5. Thank you very much, dear Mr. Daniel Siram. And this morning, I know it's been a very, very long 2 days for you. You were there yesterday, and I think today again, hitting it very early this morning. And I know that you want to probably go freshen up a little. But quickly, sir, this morning, it all hit social media. Something transpired there about a meeting that was going on in a room. And I think some questions were asked. Could you walk us through what exactly transpired there?
So I'll be very frank with this here again, because everybody was asking me all day about it. I was the first coalition rep to enter the tabulation room this morning, and I saw there the IT guys, both the IT supervisor and his deputy, right, standing in front of his, beside his desk with 4 PPP representatives. And I wondered, I wondered what was going on. So I shouted to them if there was a meeting or something that I wasn't invited to, because I found it very odd that them alone were in a conversation together. Right? And they said, no, it's not a meeting or anything like that. So I said, then what is it? And then the IT guys them said that they were asking questions. So I said, what are the questions about? And they said about the process and so. So I told them that that's not the way how you ask questions. You ask questions openly when everybody is here. You don't hold any forum by yourself to have these questions. And then everybody quickly hurried away and went back to their seats.
And what did it turn out to? Was there anything? I think what the story, the narrative that came out is that it looks as if it was a secret meeting. I understand that's not.
Speak on the narrative of this because I was busy all day. So I didn't get a chance to check anything on social media.
Yes, sir.
What was brought to my attention, however, right, was that Mr. Frank Anthony, he went out and he spoke to reporters and he told them there's nothing of the sort. And anything that he asked and any question that he had asked, everybody was there, inclusive of observers and all three coalition reps, which was wrong, because when I got into the room, no coalition rep was in the room. I was the first coalition rep to enter. So this is something that I cleared the air on today, and I told them that it's unprofessional what they did, and all of them knew that it was unprofessional what they did. Hence why nobody spoke back to me. Nobody tried to fix the situation. They just went back to their seats and they sat down. Right. They knew that there was something wrong in this atmosphere that we're currently in, right? Any questions that you have for the GCOM staff must be asked in an open environment for everyone to hear and for everyone to benefit from or to be able to comment on also, right? Now, if you're going to only, as a staff that's in charge of this tabulation room, only hold the questioning segment or meeting or whatever you want to call it. I don't know what they're saying, right? For 4 PPP reps alone, then that picture doesn't look right to me, and hence why I made the report to my managers. I told them of what was going on, right? And this was the truth.
Right, and that is what you saw. Well, it is a good thing that we have you here, Mr. Siram, because we are very happy that we're hearing several stories from different sides, and we want to start back before I probably ask you to probably step in here quickly. What would have been your impression as to the proceedings from yesterday and then on to today?
Well, yesterday we got a lot of all the proceedings went without any much big issues or incidents. So I deem them as going smooth so far. However, we have a lot of back and forth going on in the tabulation room with regards to how tabulation is to be done. We were briefed yesterday morning for us of how the tabulation is going to be done on completion of a district or region, and then we tabulate that entire region. We were told initially that the statement of return will be given to the GCOM staff in the tabulation room, and they will log that information and keep it under lock and key until it's time to tabulate the whole district. Then yesterday afternoon, between 5:30, 6 o'clock time, they said no, they got a new instruction that we'll do ongoing tabulation, and they did just about six or seven statement of recount yesterday afternoon. Then this morning, now, when we were about to restart, because we saw that this is the momentum that they were carrying, then we were told that the ongoing tabulation would be paused because the matter is being taken to the level of the commission and they will be deliberating on it. The last word that I have before leaving there this afternoon is that daily tabulation will be done between 5 p.m. and 6:30 p.m. And they will be reading all the statements of recount for all the boxes that were completed for the said day, along with all of the observation reports will be streamed live also. Will be streamed live also.
Very good. Yog?
Yes, you can hear me well?
Yes, Yog, I'm hearing.
Hey, so that's a good observation. I must tell you, politics aside, I think you have a right. If you see a group of persons talking together, then you have every right to ask what's their discussion about and to be involved in any discussion. So I don't have a problem with that. Of course, as you know, this country is rife with conspiracy theories. So everybody's going to attach their own translation to what happened. My question to you is as follows. One, are you, by the end of day two, are you feeling that, okay, we are getting into pace and it will increase at a healthy rate going to the next couple of days?
The health of the situation, now that's something that we've been noting with every single opening of every box. Because we're going into an area that nobody and the country has never been in. We have actually opened ballot boxes now for recounts. And what we're finding is that we're finding a lot of anomalies coming up, and these are shown in the observation reports for the boxes. And for the health, it doesn't look good as we keep opening more boxes and we get more into the different regions. We find that we have people. I know of one issue when a death certificate was produced for a man that voted, and then now we have many issues coming up with persons who have voted but weren't in the country at the time. And a lot more of these anomalies I see coming out because we found a pattern starting to happen. More importantly and more concerning is that when we saw that every piece of the election material would have been in those boxes, we have polling books who are left in the comforts of returning officers and other officers who should not have those materials with them. So it's quite concerning for all of us to know why these things are happening.
Right. So as you mentioned, let me ask you the following, because from a media perspective, remember we're very open here. So now here is my my thoughts on a couple of these things. That returning officer should presently be in the lockups. He should be thoroughly investigated. That's my personal view. That has nothing to do with Kaiser News and Leonard Gildarie. My personal view is that, if he kept a state property, GCOM property on his person, he should be detained immediately. However, my other logic-based argument here now is if persons who have migrated would have voted, or persons who are registered as dead, shouldn't the polling agents, the returning officer of that polling station, then come under some serious investigation, regardless of which party they belong to? Because it means that all of them in that room allowed a fraud, because the ballot boxes, when they were sealed that night, would have immediately been transported into the care of GCOM. So nobody had an opportunity to get back into the boxes. So shouldn't all those agents of all the parties, therefore, be held very responsible for those things?
I do agree that responsibility, people must be held accountable and responsible for the things that we are unearthing. I, as well as you, as many of my colleagues, as I think the remainder of the Guyanese public are waiting to see what will happen, right? At this point in time, when you ask that question, all you get from inside the convention center is please just log your complaint or log your objection, right? We ensure that these are logged formally, right? And I guess it's up to the commission, because it comes back to everything comes back to the commission. All decisions come back to the commission.
Correct. Because
in the
you
course
see,
of action that they will now take, right?
uh-huh.
To
You see,
to
the other argument to this is that the political parties, I mean, I know you're from one, so I'm not saying this to you because you're from a political party, but from a Leonard and I perspective, I am thinking logically, the political parties had a claims and objections period to clean the list. That's one. Two, the political parties all had agents in that room. And if that room commits fraud upon this nation by allowing these things to happen, that's a shame to all of the parties in that room. But I want to take you to somewhere else. If let's come to the 1.5 hour that the tabulation room will be operating. Do you feel that as the pace picks up, that the 1.5 hour will be enough to have the tabulation done at the end of every day?
Oh well, I could tell you this right off the bat. If the pace at which the boxes them come are finished per day comes up, then we have to increase the time. As it is now, right? The 1.5 hours is more than adequate for the amount of boxes that are coming out per day. I hear a lot of people talking about having the statements of recount being published to the public as soon as they're finished, right? But if you look at it, it's the same thing that's happening every day, just happening between a certain period, right? Because we're having boxes that are taken from anywhere between 2 hours to 4 hours to complete, right? For regions, for the heavily populated regions like region 4 and 3, and so those are the boxes that have a lot of time on them, and those are the boxes that we find have a lot of these anomalies coming out. Right? The smaller regions, yes, the boxes are finishing. I think region 1 is going through very swiftly, right? And region 2 as well is going through very swiftly. I think that the time so far that is allotted, the hour and a half, is more than enough for given to the rate that we are going at. If it does pick up, and if we do have more boxes being completed during the day, then that time will have to increase. Because remember now, we're not only looking at the statements of recount, we're also giving you a 10 to 15 seconds view in which you could pause at any time in your live streaming, right, to read the observation report for each box, right? All of the things that were found wrong in the box, whether it be the polling book was wrong in the box, whether it be somebody's name wasn't struck off, any single thing that was out of the way that could have some amount of bearing on the outcome of this election are on those observation reports.
Gotcha. So,
and this is what the country needs. This is what the people need to see what happened to their votes.
Correct. So my last question to you, I know you got to go. I know you must be tired, and of course you have a long day tomorrow.
Very early day tomorrow as well.
Yeah.
And I got to go earlier just in case more meetings, right?
Good. Yes, you do that. You do that, and you know that we are here waiting for a call from you as early as you get there. If you see any anomalies, please call us right away. But my last question to you as you go, why was there an early stoppage today?
An early stoppage?
Some of the stations closed off at 5 o'clock.
I think I wasn't aware of stations closing at 5 because I know even when we were doing tabulation, some stations were going on. Right? Okay. Now, my only thought on that would be is the current situation that we're in with COVID-19. Right? Probably some of the supervisors at the station must have taken it into consideration. The time it would take to finish a box wouldn't have been ample enough to stick within the time allotted for us to actually do the recount, because we have to finish by 19 hours there, and then we still have to get ourselves to our home. That would be my only understanding of that, because I know that at 5 p.m. when we were being briefed by the CEO for this tabulation, that boxes were still being counted.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much, man.
We can't. We, the political parties, right, could only make objections. We can't stop a recount, right? Gotcha. This is GCOM and their staff have to stop the recount based on the merit of whatever is reported. right?
Good.
This is not any political party telling GCOM what to do, although there are political parties that try to do that every day. Right?
Well, thank you so very much, and we will look forward to hearing from you any of the days in the future. Please know that we want to give the nation an update every night. So anytime you feel like you're updated, please join us.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for allowing me to clarify.
Thank you very much, dear. And so that's Daniel Siram. And so he is a APNU AFC candidate. And we thank you very much, dear sir. And do have a pleasant rest of the evening.
And we have Josh Kanhai ready to join us as soon as Kevin could get him on the line.
Yes, so we stand by for that. So, Yog, there you would have had it very gracious indeed to have clarified that. And then, of course, he would have made it very clear also that this process here that is ongoing, definitely, I think he is also saying what others are saying, that we're not going to be finishing in that 25 days. They continue along those lines. So,
right.
Yog, yes, go ahead.
Yes, go on.
No, so it is day 2. I seem to get a sense today as if we are leveling off, that we have a handle on the situation, and that come day 3, I think they are going to see some picking up of the pace tomorrow. I'm glad that we did better than yesterday in terms, we did 25 yesterday, today 40. There is an improvement, but definitely not good enough if you're looking at that 25 days. That is still looming very, very large in front of us.
Right, indeed. And I think what's bottom line here, Leonard, is everybody wants this thing over and done with, because, the question you have to ask, if you're picking up all these anomalies, I think Anita has pointed it out correctly. Anita has said to me in a comment here that if what would have happened to all these issues if there was no recount? It means somebody would have been sworn in with flawed, with severely flawed ballots, right? But we're gonna deal with that question some other time.
No, absolutely, and so, in a very short while we're gonna get Mr. Josh Kanai, and he's going to tell us a little about what he would have seen today. And, one of the stories that is coming out, there's so many stories that's coming out from this entire last 2 months here. One of the big things that I'm seeing is some very young faces, Yog, some very bright minds, doctors, former army captains. You would see teachers, Rhonda Lamb, very experienced.
Leonard Gildarie.
I'm not sure about that. I'm struggling. I don't like the radio, man. I don't like the radio. So we're trying to get Mr. Josh Kanai. Hello. Hi, good night. Dr. Josh Kanai, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
Leonard Gildarie here, and obviously Dr. Yog Mahadeo. So I'm going to put you straight over to Dr. Yog Mahadeo. He got plenty questions for you.
Hi, great.
Josh, thank you for coming on tonight, and we appreciate it. We know that the day has been a long day for you, so thank you for coming. And I know you're still at the center, but we just wanted from you, you're live, you're on Facebook, YouTube, and all across the nation on Kaicho Radio. So if you don't mind, give us a snapshot. How are you feeling at the end of today after 65 boxes are completed?
Well, at the end of today, it was a bit more positive. We got over a battle which we were trying to fight since yesterday. We got it over with. That's concerning the tabulation process, which we should be doing at the end of every day. Right? So I'm feeling a bit positive on that end. It's a battle that we've won, but the wire is still there for us to go through.
Right. And what would be probably one of the warning signals that you would want to see now, that we need to be aware of going to the future? I mean, for example, having 65 boxes done over 2 days, that's not a nice average. Of course, we know we can speed up. But what's your take on it?
Well, definitely the 25 proposed days are not going to be 25. There is a mathematical issue there, and calculation has put it into 60, almost 70 days if we continue, given that we take into consideration this process being sped up by tomorrow. All right.
Right.
So it's not going to be 25. It's about 60, I would say, given that we speed up.
Correct. And Dr. Josh, I mean, the nation knows that we all waiting for the light at the end of the tunnel, because until and unless Guyana has a legitimate government, under this COVID-19 thing, that our population is suffering. There are people out there that doesn't have a meal to eat, and nothing is being done for that. My other question to you, sir, is with regards to the end of day processes. We heard two reports that are disturbing. One is that some of the stations apparently closed off at about 5. And the other is that even though there was a period of an hour and a half for the tabulation process, we didn't tabulate the 65 boxes that would have been processed.
Right. Well, that was the first question, first answer to that is that the 5 o'clock situation was that some of the stations, they had a big box that would come and that would take them all the way to 7 o'clock. So some people called it off a bit early. It was around 5:30, 5:45, I would say. It wasn't exactly about 5. That was that issue, and it would have taken them probably until 8, as Station 9 finished until about 7:45. Those stations would have made that call. I don't really know much about it since it's probably a station that I didn't have a rep in. But that's my take on it. For the tabulation at the end, hour and a half, it's fair enough for the day's work. But when you have a backlog from yesterday, it's not going to be fair. So right now we're having a backlog from since yesterday of about 25. Say times that by 2, it's going to be 50 SORs. That's still been ongoing today, and it hasn't even finished. So we have another backlog tomorrow of Thursday and of Wednesday. So that backlog is going to keep adding. So we're going to try to push tomorrow to get some more time. But let's not get our hopes up, and let's try to see how best we can work it out with the commission tomorrow.
So are you satisfied very very quickly there? Sorry, Yog. Are you satisfied with what you see? Do you believe that the words transparency, credibility could be used to describe what has transpired today and yesterday?
Well, I do know that the live feeds have been going on, and the audio feeds from the rooms have been going on. Some from the counting agent section of things, the transparency there is, from my agents, that would be, they're saying it's good. It's the supervisors are listening to them, they're answering their objections, they're clarifying. The transparency on that end is good. When it comes to the tabulation of the results or the SORs, that end had a bit of a issue today, whereby they wanted to take back some SORs. Initially, they got us really confused because after we raised these points about getting the SORs done every day, it went to the meeting with the commissioner, the chairwoman, and the CEO. After that meeting, the CEO himself sent the IT specialist to the room to brief us on how the process is going to be now. In addition to that, he also told the IT guy that they're going to take back SORs that we had since Wednesday and we had today. They're going to take them back from our possession, well, not our possession, but from GCOM staff possession, and take them to the secretariat for them to be rectified. That rectification being adding the comments, the observers from GCOM's comments, onto these SORs. We were not going to allow those SORs to move from our site. So we were objecting. Initially, Says Gunraj, the commissioner, and Mr. Ropesman they came in the room and they debunked the whole issue whereby the CEO gave misinformation to this IT specialist who then brought it to us. So we found the root of a problem there. The CEO, who is apparently just giving out information that he feels that they should have or he should send out to confuse us, thinking that we wouldn't get back to them. But thankfully, the commissioners were there and they objected and they were like, no, that was not what we had in the meeting. You should consult with your senior. The IT specialist was gladly said okay, and he went to consult. So that was the issue there, right?
That's a big moment though, Doc. That's a big moment.
That was a sigh of relief. That was like, wow, we finally have some sort of evidence to please ourselves that the misinformation being carried around in the Archon Convention Center. Concerning observation nodes being shown to the public, that I don't see that as any issue. That's transparent. The APNU supporters I've previously posted, they're continuously just objecting. They want to know serial numbers. They want to know who has been ticked, etc. I just want the Guyanese population to know that that's not going to derail, that's not going to hinder any aspect of this recount. It's just them trying to prolong this counting, per se. They want to make it longer, right? That's my take on the transparency.
Doc, a quick question for you. I want to take your mind back to a little bit of procedural issue to educate everyone listening. When you're in a room or you're on a workstation and you're counting and the end of that box has been reached and you all agree on the numbers and you create an SOR, you all now sign that SOR. Each of you, would each of you be given a copy?
Yes, sir. We are given a copy.
Wonderful. Because here's where the question is coming from, Doc. March 2nd, each of you had a copy of your SOPs.
Right.
Right? And at the end of the day, your copy of the SOP really didn't matter.
Right. Well, apparently.
So now 67, 68 days after, we are still now recreating SORs. So the good thing with the process to the viewers and listeners out there, that the SORs are now being displayed. Josh, my last question for you on this point. The media is interested in knowing that whether a copy of those SORs cannot be made available for the media, because this entire gazetted order does not consider the media at all.
Right. Perfectly said. And I feel, in spirit of transparency, why not?
Correct. Because hear me out with this. On March 2nd, at the close of polls and at the close of counting, a copy of the SOP was placed in public place. Here we have SOR that is not immediately being placed in a public position.
Right. And they're hindered. They don't want us to take pictures of it. They don't want us to share it. But hey, we're still doing it because it's all right. And there's nothing stopping us from using our phones to take a picture of our personal SORs.
Correct. And the other point I wish to make here, Doc, is you are empowered by the electorate. You are not a man alone. You are representing the people of Guyana, and therefore it is your duty to release some information to the public, isn't it, sir?
Yes, sir. It's their document. They paid for it, huh?
Correct. $8 billion too, not $1. $8 billion. Well, thank you so much. What other final thoughts you would have for our viewers and listeners, sir?
Right now, all I'd like to say is that let the Guyanese population not fall into any of the tricky narratives we're hearing about secret meetings and there's a deaf person voting, etc. We're not going to let them derail this process, right? And I'm going to let them know that the counting wasn't the issue. The issue was always tabulation, and that's why we're focusing on tabulation. Because so far we haven't had much discrepancies. There's been minor discrepancies like 1 vote, 2 votes, a rejected vote because of a stamp, but then you can see it, etc. I want them to know that the process is in the tabulation, and we are there. The strong ones are there full time, and we're going to get it through, and we're going to fight to the very end and raise our voices and our concerns so that the population can benefit after this entire fiasco is over. And hopefully we can get it done very soon and in an efficient manner.
So,
thank you.
Dr.
Josh, thank you so very much. I know that we got onto you at last moment, and thank you so much. Please let me, on behalf of the entire Guyanese public, thank you for a job that you guys are doing.
No mention, man. No mention.
And I want to tell you, we are going to be here every night as God Spare Life to give the people an update. Please feel free to join us whenever you can, sir. We'll be just waiting for you to tell us you're ready.
And I must say thanks to you guys as well, because you're putting out not only my narrative, but a whole lot of other narratives. And the Guyanese population can listen to all the sides of the stories and not just one. And that's what I want them to do. So thank to you guys a lot, Mr. Leonard Gildarie and yourself, Dr. Yog Mahadeo. Even for the COVID-19 updates, I listen to them. So keep them up.
Thank you very much. A quick question. You were one of the youngsters, and I mean this in I think he's gone. I think he's gone there, Yog. But I really wanted to ask him, what a bright young man. And I say this with all due respect and love for my people that I see coming out there.
You're saying that because he's a doctor,
Leonard? No. I have a lot of doctor friends. So if he doesn't want to treat me, I could probably call somebody else. But
my friend, I'll say this to you.
Are you a doctor too?
I know you're going to be angry with me saying this, but you had a good lawyer friend until you record him and bust up the recording in public, right?
Well,
I'll say no more.
There's two sides to every story. I put it at that, and Mr. Lal says, I have good protection there. He says if anybody ever comes to you on that, call me. My number is 624-6456, 624-6456, and he could defend that. I'm not even going to
Right,
defend anything. It is out there. I think that the whole world knows. The fact is to come back to Josh Kanai,
yeah,
a bright young doctor. I think it is first foray into politics. I see at least very frontal. The general secretary of the new movement, and these guys would have been coming out. Dr. Mark de
of course.
France, Rhonda Lamb. You see the Lennox Schumann who would have come out burst onto the scene literally. Of course, the little older one, my dear friend, the lawyer, who all the ladies, and probably you want to call the name. You want to call the name?
No, you go ahead, sir.
There's a very good lawyer. I can't remember his name right now. I did that deliberately, and there's so many other names.
You did, and you got caught with it. But Leonard, look, I know, and I need to say this too, that Dr. Josh Kanai, Shaz Ali, Rhonda Lamb, all of these persons, you have Timothy Jonas, you have Kian Jabor, you have all of these persons, you have even people like you and me. We are here are not on any political parties, but these men and women, they have come out, they have gotten into the race, they got themselves knocked out because they didn't attract the kind of votes they thought they could. But you know what? They did not go into a corner and sit crying. They decided this fight is bigger than a personal fight. It is a fight for Guyana. And one day we're going to emerge from this all together. You see, Leonard, the thing is here that for you and me, the party politics don't matter. I don't belong, neither you. We don't belong to any political party, but we want to see the right thing happen for Guyana, and it must happen. It must happen. Now, the other thing I want to quickly mention to the viewers and listeners out there, send us your messages, send us, you can tweet me on Yog Mahadeo, you go on Twitter, you can find me there. You have Leonard Gildarie, you can Facebook, you can inbox us. I can share my WhatsApp number, it's 6200964. It's really 6200 Yog. So you can WhatsApp me, you can call me, send us your information, send us clips about what's happening across the country, and those snippets of information you have with regards to this elections, because your interest is our interest, and this is why Leonard and I are doing it. With the kind compliments of Glenn Lal, we are doing this every day.
Well, I do thank you for that. I'm not sure about the kind compliments. He might not be looking so kind. We're not getting any sponsors or anything, but that's okay.
Well, you're not gonna get any sponsors for election coverage, right? That's something that we both know.
No, that's all right. We have a how you say it. We owe it to the public. It's a how you say it. It's a public service thing that we're doing here. And
as is the role that you and I are doing, right? Because I just want to make sure that some of those people who are attacking us that we are getting some fancy pay and support. No, this is all voluntary work from Leonard and myself.
No, but the truth is, I really enjoyed. Somebody asked me yesterday. So how do you make it through the day? You've been doing it since March the 2nd. And I said, it's really. I went home last night. I took 2 Tylenol PM because the head was aching, and I just went. I took knockout till this morning. I got up till 8 o'clock this morning. I missed everything with all the everything that was going on social media with a secret meeting and so on and so forth. But it is part of what we do. But not only that, one of the things that I would like to do is be able to have that capacity to really encourage our people to take strength at this point in time. And this is coming from within the heart. We should push our people. We should encourage them a little more. They need it at this point in time, Yoga. You see the suffering of the people. You hear from them every single day. Today you hear the guy calling from the back dam in his rice field, and he's talking about what is happening. So we really need to get over this line here and this line here of elections 2020. I think that's a big hurdle right now. I think it's overtaken and come back to the front burner, putting COVID-19 into the back burner. But let's keep an eye on that. That's a very, very big thing. It's going to really mash up our economy. It's already done that. Lots of businesses. I think iPad, I think we could remember. That thing is stuck in my head a week back. Ramesh Prasad, CEO of iPad, telling us, I think it's about a tenth or a fifth of all businesses that they have under the portfolio, they're projecting are not going to be able to start back, and they're putting an intervention program in place to help their existing clients. The banks have been generally very quiet as to what is happening here. We hear they're working quietly on a plan. I'm hoping that they could come out very quickly and tell the people of Guyana what is it, some of the interventions that they're doing to assist some of those businesses that would be foundering at the moment. So it's really worrisome sometimes, Yog, and we should really, with all jokes aside, this thing is it's so very serious when it comes to elections 2020. What we have here, 25 boxes for the first day, 40 for the second day. There's a total of 65. Definitely not going to cut it. 65. That's 65 boxes.
Correct. And also, just as we're going to get down to program time now, Leonard, just to wrap up and let everybody know what's happened today. So today I've had a lot of conspiracy theories. We have had the gentleman from APNU AFC join us earlier tonight to tell us about that secret, that not so secret meeting this morning. And he was quite clear. And I don't find a problem with the way he put it over and his views of what transpired here, Leonard. And also to our viewers and listeners, we have had Dr. Josh Kanhai also tell us, he's feeling good that we are moving. At least we are now in action. We are getting things done, Leonard. We have also, thanks to the 3 reporters from Kiter News that gave us an update of what's happened today. And certainly, viewers and listeners, things are happening. And Leonard and I, we give a commitment that we will bring you up to date during the day. And if things get to a head that we need to inform you every night, we are going to inform you every night, of course. As you know, tomorrow night will be another room 592, and we'll certainly be bringing you updates from that too. So viewers and listeners, tomorrow at 2 o'clock, Leonard, you want to take us to what we have tomorrow at 2?
Well, tomorrow at 2, definitely we'll be bringing you updates as to what is happening down at the convention center there. And we have been trying to get an update as to the relief for the people, the vulnerables in Guyana when it comes to COVID-19. For a lot of persons, they're not paying real close attention to what is happening in elections. They know it's important. I think what's important to a lot of people, they're scraping to see what is in the cupboard. They're actually running dry. They're running on fumes at the moment. Some persons literally have nothing to cook. They're begging the neighbors and so on. So we could talk about that, and we could talk about so many other things. But I really want to get some answers from the authorities, from the CDC, and of course from the task force. I'm going to be banging on some doors tomorrow to see whether we could get some of those answers. I want Kester Craig, that is the head of the CDC, Civil Defense Commission, which is charged with situations like this, emergency relief measures for our people. Definitely we'd be trying to get on to Mr. Joseph Harmon, who's also the Chief Executive Officer of the National Task Force. I'm hoping that he could at least give us some reassurance or at least talk to the people. So we're going to try to arrange that. We're going to keep knocking on the door until somebody answers.
Great. And tomorrow night, we are certainly going to I can assure everyone, for tomorrow night's Room 592 program, we are going to get an update from Commissioner Says Gunraj, and we are going to certainly hope to have Ms. Lam and others come on the program, being it's going to be a Friday night, to give you all updates. Leonard, how is it looking from your end, my friend? I can promise you that we're going to have Mr. Says Gunraj on tomorrow night.
We're going to have it. We're going to have something really good for the people tomorrow when it comes to bringing the news.
And don't forget, Leonard, sorry to cut in. Don't forget, everyone, tomorrow night we're also looking at having young Alex Arjun to come talk about the coastlands and the environmental impact. Remember, while we're all focused on elections, we also need to be aware of what's going on other places. And so Alex will be joining us tomorrow night to talk about his documentary, Coastlands. And after that, certainly we're going to be looking at having Mr. Says Conrad join us.
Well, definitely. And I did speak to Mr. James Bond today. And he always has a lot to say. So we're going to continue to engage him. He says he was willing tonight after he would have come out of a meeting to talk to us, but we weren't getting him. So we're going to try him
Right.
tomorrow. But he's always a good person to talk to engage. Always give the other side of the story. And here, and let me say it once before we close up very quickly here, Yog. Our since day one, I've been trying to engage all parts, every party, every side of the divide, all the stakeholders in this, in whatever we presented to the people. That's why we would have gotten the diplomats, the politicians on both sides of the divide. We'd have gotten the executives within the organizations that matters, like IPED and so on. I think Demerara Bank has indicated to us that they're going to be on very shortly. Thank you very much,
Very
Demerara Bank. They called me today, and they're coming on to say what they've been doing when it comes to COVID-19 and some of the measures that they are putting in place to relieve some of the customers. And I hope that the other banks, maybe even the Guyana Association of Bankers, could come on and tell the people what is happening, some of the menu of measures that they would have been thinking of. So
and Leonard, one of the things we can probably do a day next week. I spoke to the PAHO WHO rep, and and they're going to be happy to come on to give us some more information from that end.
Yes, definitely. You have to hear from PAHO. We know that there was a little problem with the tests that we have. Some of the tests, some parts of the three-part tests that were coming here had to be stored at a certain temperature, and apparently somewhere along the line, I think about 1,500 to about 2,000 spoiled, and so it's affecting our rolling out of the number of tests that we want to do for COVID-19, and that's not good news at all. However, I think I understand that they are trying to rectify that situation by the end of this week, and we Friday tomorrow, so we should be back on track by next week.
Correct. That's been good, and it's good to look forward to that. And to viewers and listeners, as we wrap up tonight's program, I want to remind you that Guyana's had some unique history, Leonard. Guyana's history has been very, very unique. In the 1970s, we had dead men voting. There is supposed to be this thing with dead people don't talk, but in Guyana, it seems like dead people are voting. But, all those conspiracy theories, at room 592, ladies and gentlemen, we unleash the truth. We don't back any political parties. We call it the way we see it. We unleash the truth, and we are giving you the information as we get it. We analyze what we can, and we place it out there for everyone. The truth is that, we are at the end of day 2, 65 boxes have been completed, and we're looking forward for increased velocity, increased acceleration tomorrow as things go by. And join us tomorrow, join Mr. Gildarie and yours truly tomorrow at 2 p.m. for Elections Watch and COVID Watch, and again tomorrow night for room 592. So Leonard, it's been great to see you again tonight from your beachside resort. I do hope that those waters don't get to you, but see you tomorrow, my friend. And ladies and gentlemen, it's been great to have you tonight. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks to Kevin, Josh, all the technical team, and of course, Mr. Glenla. Thank you all and have a good night.
Thank you very much. Good night, everybody.
Unleash the truth in room 592 with Dr. Yog Mahadeo and his co-host Leonard Gildarie, keeping the most important matters on the front line: elections, economics, politics, and much more. Room 592 on Kaiju Radio 99.1 and 99.5 FM. Room 592 every Monday.